Most people think seduction is a talent you're born with. They imagine a face, a body, a voice. They imagine confidence as something loud, but real seduction is quieter than that. It doesn't shout. It doesn't chase. It rearranges the room without moving a chair. It takes a stranger's attention, then their curiosity, then their trust, until the final moment when they realize they're already leaning toward you, because seduction is not sex. Sex is just one doorway. Seduction is the architecture of desire itself. It's how you make people want to be near you, want to agree with you, want to choose you, even when doing so costs them pride. It's how you sell a product, win an ally, soften an enemy, or turn a cold conversation into a private world. And the ones who master it aren't the most attractive, they're the most perceptive. Here is the law that changes everything. The seducer is outer-directed. While others drown in their internal monologue, do they like me? Am I impressive? Am I failing? The seducer listens like a thief in a dark hallway. They catch what people hide inside jokes. They hear what's missing behind accomplishments. They notice the tiny hunger that never gets fed. Validation, excitement, mystery, the feeling of being seen. Then they mirror it back with precision through attention, through gesture, through timing, until the other person feels something rare in modern life, recognized. And once someone associates that feeling with you, you don't need to beg, you don't need to prove. You simply control the atmosphere. You become the ride they didn't know they were craving, the escape from their blunt, predictable days. So the question is not whether seduction works. The question is whether you will keep living as someone who is influenced or become someone who influences. Let's begin. The first mistake amateurs make is thinking seduction begins when you speak. It doesn't. Seduction begins the moment you enter a room, because everyone is already making a silent decision about you. Threat or safety, value or noise, leader or follower, feast or famine. Most people walk in begging to be judged kindly. They adjust their posture, over-explain their presence, laugh too quickly, offer too much information like a bribe. That is not charm. That is submission disguised as friendliness. If you want to seduce, you must reverse the direction of your mind. The weak are inner-directed. They hear their own fear in their skull like a drum. Do they like me? Am I boring? Should I say something clever? They treat every interaction like a trial. That anxiety leaks through their eyes, through their timing, through the microscopic rush in their words. People sense it without understanding it, and they punish it without admitting it. The strong are outer-directed. Outer-directed does not mean needy attention. It means controlled attention, predatory calm. You are not scanning for approval. You are studying the person in front of you as if they are the map and you are planning an invasion. You listen for their rhythm, what excites them, what embarrasses them, what they repeat, what they avoid. You watch where their confidence spikes and where it collapses. You notice their hunger disguised as opinions, because every person is missing something. Some are missing recognition. They've been competent for so long nobody claps anymore. Some are missing mystery. Their life is predictable and they hate themselves for it. Some are missing softness, because their world only respects hardness. Some are missing permission to want, to dream, to be reckless, to be adored without earning it. Your power is not in talking. Your power is in locating the absence. Then you do something almost unfair. You make them feel seen, but not consumed. You give them attention that feels rare, not desperate. You don't interrogate. You reveal that you already noticed. A small, precise observation lands like a key in a lock. Most people never receive this. They receive generic compliments, recycled jokes, lazy curiosity. When you become specific, you become intimate without touching them. And this is where the trap closes. When someone feels recognized, they feel relief. Relief becomes warmth. Warmth becomes attachment. Attachment becomes a willingness to please you, to keep the feeling alive. They will call it chemistry. They will call it destiny. They will call it luck. It is none of those. It is attention used as a weapon. But there is one rule you must obey if you want this to work. Never show hunger first. Hunger makes you predictable. Hunger makes you purchasable. Hunger turns you into a customer. The seducer is not a customer. The seducer is the atmosphere. Walk into the room like you already belong. Speak like you're choosing your words, not spilling them. Look at people as if you're reading them, not begging them. And when you offer attention, offer it like a gift with weight, something that can be withdrawn, outer-directed, controlled, surgical. That is where seduction starts. Seduction is not built on what you reveal. It's built on what you withhold. Most people, the moment they want something, start spilling themselves like a knocked-over glass. They explain, they confess. They try to be understood by overexposing every motive and insecurity as if transparency is virtue. But transparency is not virtue. It is a lack of control, and control is the first ingredient of desire. Desire requires space. If I can fully predict you, you cannot haunt me. If you are always available, you cannot feel valuable. If you give me everything immediately, your time, your attention, your stories, your approval, then you have taught me something poisonous. You have taught me that you are abundant, and anything abundant becomes cheap, no matter how beautiful it is. This is why mystery is not a trick. It is a structure. The human mind hates incomplete patterns. It reaches for closure the way the body reaches for warmth. Give people a clean, finished story, and their mind rests. Give them an open loop, something unresolved, something just beyond reach, and their mind begins to orbit you. They replay, they reinterpret, they search for the missing piece, and the longer they search, the more they invest. Investment creates attachment. That is the hidden mechanic behind chemistry. It's not magic, it's mental occupation. So you learn to measure yourself. You learn to speak with intention, not exhaust. You answer questions, but not with your entire bloodstream. You give a glimpse, not a tour. You hint at depth without proving it. You allow them to sense that there are rooms inside you they haven't entered yet, and you do it without announcing it, because announcing it is begging. The seducer's mystery is not theatrical, it's disciplined. You don't text like you're trying to keep a fire from dying. You let silence do its work. You don't explain your absence with panic. You let your absence imply a life. You don't rush to correct misunderstandings. Sometimes, you let them sit in uncertainty long enough to realize they care what you think, and then, when you do speak, your words land heavier, because they were not cheap. This is the difference between attention and presence. Attention is frantic. Presence is controlled. Presence is when you make people feel you could leave at any moment, and they would feel the loss. Not because you threatened them, because you never handed them all of you in the first place. They only received pieces, and those pieces were enough to make them hungry for the rest. Here's the crucial line. Mystery must never become coldness. Coldness repels. Mystery invites. You remain warm, but not accessible. You remain interested, but not captured. You let them feel chosen, but you never let them feel that choosing you is automatic. You create a gentle tension, safety in your gaze, danger in your distance, and when they lean in, you do not step back like a coward. You let them come closer, and you reward them selectively. That selective reward is the hook, because what is earned is treasured, and what is given away is consumed. Master this, and you stop being someone people understand immediately. You become someone they keep thinking about after you're gone. If mystery creates hunger, then contrast creates addiction. People don't bond to what is constant, they bond to what changes them. They bond to what disrupts their emotional pattern without destroying it. This is why the most intoxicating seducers are not the sweetest. They are the most inconsistent in a controlled way, not chaotic, not unreliable, controlled contrast. Because the human nervous system learns through reward and withdrawal. Give a person steady warmth and they relax. Relaxation becomes comfort. Comfort becomes assumption. Assumption becomes boredom. This is not romance failing. This is biology doing what it always does, adapting. So the seducer introduces a rhythm. You show intensity. then you lighten, you give attention, then you return to your world. You create moments of closeness that feel private and charged, then you reopen the distance so they feel the air again. The point is not to punish them. The point is to prevent you from becoming background noise. Most people fear this because they confuse it with manipulation. But here is the reality. Everything social is manipulation. The only question is whether you do it consciously or whether you do it clumsily and call it being yourself. The seducer chooses the rhythm. You do this first through emotion. One moment you are present, fully present, like the rest of the world has gone quiet. You look at them as if you can see the person they hide from everyone else. Then, later, you become slightly elusive, not rude, not distant, just not available, on command. You let your life remain visible, and you let them feel that you are not waiting. That imbalance is electric, because it forces a private question inside them. Where do I stand with you? And the moment someone asks that question, they are already attached. Then you do it through identity. People are seduced by the version of themselves they become around you, so you alternate what you awaken in them. With one person, you pull out their confidence, make them feel admired, sharp, powerful. With another, you pull out their softness, make them feel safe, unjudged, allowed to be human. The contrast is not random. It's tailored to what they're starving for. This is where outer-directed becomes lethal. You already studied their hunger. Now, you feed it in doses. A single line of approval at the right time can outweigh 100 compliments thrown around carelessly. A brief touch of vulnerability, strategic, not spilling, can make them feel trusted, which makes them want to prove themselves worthy. A moment of playful challenge can wake their competitiveness. People don't want ease, they want meaning. And meaning often arrives wrapped in tension. But understand the danger. If you overdo contrast, you become unstable. If you starve too long, you create resentment. The seducer is not a storm. The seducer is the tide, predictable enough to feel safe, unpredictable enough to feel alive. So you calibrate, you withdraw before they take you for granted. You return before they harden. You reward when they invest. You stay quiet when they test. And you never explain the rhythm. Explanation kills effect. Explanation turns seduction into a negotiation. You don't negotiate your value, you demonstrate it through timing. Controlled contrast is how you turn attraction into fixation, not by giving them everything, by making them feel something every time you appear. Seduction is not kindness. Kindness is cheap. Anyone can offer it when it costs them nothing. Seduction is selective generosity given in a way that creates meaning, not dependence. The seducer doesn't drown people in attention. The seducer gives a person what they never receive from the world, and gives it with such precision that it feels like fate. Most people try to impress. They perform, they display achievements, they present a polished identity, and hope it earns desire. But desire is not earned by your resume. Desire is triggered when you touch someone's private hunger, then make that hunger feel understood, safe, and slightly dangerous at the same time. The primary hunger is always the same: to be recognized, not liked, not admired, recognized. People walk around unseen, even in relationships, even with friends. They are spoken to, but not studied, complimented, but not comprehended. When you become the rare person who notices the details others glide past, you become unforgettable. But the recognition must be strategic. If you recognize them too openly, they feel exposed. If you recognize them too much, it feels like flattery. If you recognize them without restraint, you signal hunger, your need to connect, your need to be important, your need to be chosen. So you do it like a blade, clean, quiet, exact. You name what they don't say, not in a dramatic psychoanalysis, in a simple observation delivered with calm certainty, the kind that makes them pause and think, how did you see that? A person's posture when they speak about their work, the way their voice changes when they mention a sibling, the precise moment they stop making jokes and become serious. These are tells, and tells are doors. You open one door at a time, then you offer a gift, not a gift of money, a gift of experience, a place they didn't expect, a conversation that feels like escape. A moment where their usual identity, competent, guarded, predictable, falls away and something younger appears. Remember the child inside them, the part that still wants to be taken somewhere, led, surprised, carried into a different world for a moment. That is why seduction feels like enchantment. It is not the other person falling in love with you. It is the other person falling in love with how they feel around you. And now the ruthless part. You never give gifts like payment. You give them like an expression of your standards. You don't say, "I did this to win you." You say, through action, "This is the kind of world I move in. This is what happens when you are near me." Your generosity becomes part of your identity, calm, abundant, unforced. And abundance is intoxicating because it signals power. But abundance must be disciplined. If you give too much too soon, you teach them entitlement. If you overextend, you become a provider, not a seducer. You become useful. And usefulness is rarely erotic. It's rarely magnetic. It's rarely feared. So you pace it. You let them earn access, not through begging, but through investment, through attention returned, through loyalty shown, through respect. You reward what you want repeated. You ignore what you want to starve. Recognition, experience, selective generosity. That is how you make someone feel chosen, without ever becoming the one who is chasing. Most people try to seduce with presence. The masters seduce with absence, because absence is a mirror. It forces the other person to stare into their own desire. When you're not there, they can't distract themselves with your words, your smile, your warmth. They are left with one uncomfortable question that reveals everything. Why do I miss them? And the moment a person misses you, you've moved from attraction into ownership. Not ownership of their body, ownership of their attention, ownership of their inner dialogue. That is the real territory. But absence only works when your presence had weight. If you were merely available, your disappearance is relief. If you were merely pleasant, your silence is forgettable. So the seducer first establishes a signature, a feeling that only arrives when you do. Then, and only then, they step away. This is where most people fail. They withdraw out of fear. They ghost. They play games with panic underneath. That kind of absence reeks. It feels petty. It feels insecure. It makes people angry, not hungry. The seducer's absence is calm. It is not a punishment. It is a standard. You don't disappear to trigger them. You return to your life because your life is real. You don't reply instantly because you are not on call. You don't over-explain because you are not negotiating your value. And you don't fill silence with nervous chatter because silence is not emptiness, it's pressure. Pressure creates revelation. In silence, people show you what they are. The impatient reveal entitlement. The anxious reveal dependency. The proud reveal insecurity. The disciplined reveal self-respect. This is why absence is not just seductive, it's diagnostic. It tells you who deserves deeper access and who only wanted a drug, so you learn to use distance as a filter. You give them enough to want more, then you watch what they do with the wanting. Do they become more attentive, more thoughtful, more invested? Or do they become demanding, petulant, cold? This is the moment you discover whether their desire has quality. And while you're away, you never look desperate. No vague posts, no dramatic hints, no indirect cries for attention. That is amateur theater. That is the sound of a weak person trying to manufacture value. You let your silence look natural. You let your absence imply depth, because the fantasy is always stronger than the fact. When you're not constantly available, people fill the gaps with imagination. They remember you slightly better than you were. They replay your words with extra meaning. They assign you power you didn't even claim, and then you return strategically, not with explanations, with presence. You re-enter their world as if nothing was missing, while they feel everything that was missing. You offer a small reward, a message that lands like a door opening, a plan that feels like privilege, a moment of attention that feels earned. That is the seducer's cycle. Presence that creates a signature. Absence that creates hunger. Return that creates relief. Relief that binds. Master this, and you stop trying to hold people with effort. You hold them with gravity. Seduction fails the moment you start asking for permission. Most people turn desire into a negotiation. They seek reassurance. They push for clarity. They demand labels, commitments, timelines, because uncertainty makes them feel powerless. And they are right. Uncertainty is power. But the seducer does not fear uncertainty. The seducer weaponizes it. Because in every relationship, romantic, social, political, the one who can tolerate ambiguity longer controls the frame. They decide the pace. They decide the meaning. They decide what is normal. And whoever controls the frame controls the person inside it. Here is the final law. Never chase the outcome. Chase the atmosphere. Outcomes make you rigid. Atmosphere makes you sovereign. When you chase the outcome, you start forcing moments. You start steering conversations toward confirmation. You start turning maybe into pressure. People feel that pressure like a hand closing around their throat. Even when they like you, they resist being cornered. Nobody wants to feel captured by someone who is afraid to lose them. So you lead without asking. You make plans as statements, not pleas. You move the interaction forward with calm certainty. You assume receptivity until proven otherwise. And if it's not there, you don't argue, you withdraw with dignity. This communicates something rarer than confidence: self-containment. Self-containment is the seducer's crown. It says, I want you, but I do not need you. I can enjoy you without shrinking for you. I can walk away without making you the villain. I can remain warm without becoming weak. And that combination, warmth with boundaries, creates a unique psychological effect. Respect mixed with longing, because most people only offer one or the other. They're either sweet and porous, easy to use and easy to forget, or they're cold and armored, hard to reach and hard to love. The seducer is neither. They are inviting, but unownable. Now, understand the deeper mechanism. Seduction is the management of self-image. People don't just want you, they want to feel desirable to you. They want to feel chosen by someone who has options. They want the story, I was selected, I mattered, I earned access. So you give them a path to earn access. Not by pleading, not by chasing, by setting subtle tests. Do they show up on time? Do they listen when you speak? Do they respect your no without pouting? Do they try to understand your world or only recruit you into theirs? These tests are not spoken, they're embedded, and every time they pass, you open another door. This is how you avoid the trap that destroys long-term seduction. Familiarity without reverence. Familiarity is inevitable. Reverence is designed. You maintain reverence by maintaining standards, by keeping your life intact, by refusing to make them the sun around which you orbit, by continuing to be slightly unknown, always evolving, always deepening, always capable of surprising them. Because the most seductive thing is not being wanted, it is being chosen by someone who could choose otherwise. Hold the frame, control the pace, guard your standards, offer warmth, but never surrender your center. That is mastery. Seduction is not a trick you use on others. It's a discipline you use on yourself. You become outer-directed, so you can read what people hide. You cultivate mystery, so your presence never becomes cheap. You use contrast, so you remain alive in their nervous system. You give recognition and experience with precision, so they associate you with escape. You understand absence, so you create hunger without cruelty. And above all, you hold the frame, so you never beg for what should be earned. Most people will spend their lives hoping to be chosen. You will become the one who chooses. If you want the next set of laws, deeper, colder, and more effective, then align yourself now. Like the video, subscribe, return with intention. Power does not follow the hesitant.